In 2015, the relaunch of the Spider-Woman comic, written by Dennis Hopeless and beautifully illustrated by Javier Rodriguez, came under fire due to the first issue's cover revealing that Jessica Drew was pregnant. People were furious and berated Marvel for potentially promoting the fetishization of pregnant women in the comic and defiling the character of Spider-Woman. Even when you look the topic up on YouTube today, most coverage of the character in the series is negative. And with the recent introduction of a pregnant Spider-Woman in Across the Spider-Verse, many have pointed out the disappointment that was this era of Jessica Drew, which is so unfortunate because Javier Rodriguez and Dennis Hopeless's Spider-Woman run in 2015 is one of the most fun books to come out of that era for me. For one, look at this art. I love Javier Rodriguez's art, and I'm glad he has gotten to make art for a lot of good books over the years. His cartoony and colorful depiction of the Marvel Universe makes it perfect for comics with lighter tones. It really makes the Marvel Universe seem like a fun place to be. Plus, he never misses when it comes to anatomy and movement. Every single action scene of his bursts with life and energy, and I cannot describe to you how detailed and ambitious his splash pages and paneling are in this series. The writing by Dennis Hopeless is also really good. In this revision of Spider-Woman, which technically started in the 5th issue of the previous series, Jessica Drew becomes a private investigator who works with Ben Urich, a reporter famously known for his iconic role in Daredevil comics. And despite the cringy cover of the first issue, this added element of having Jessica be a mother figure is based on Dennis Hopeless's journey of being a recent father at the time of publication. Also, for those who think Jessica Drew was willingly going out there fighting crime as a pregnant woman, you're completely wrong. She's only pregnant for the first 3.5 issues. And the only reason she has to spring up into action is because she gets stuck in an intergalactic hospital full of other pregnant women and Skrulls invade the location. What's great about the comic's writing is that it understands the dichotomy of what having a child is like. Not that I have one or anything. But yeah, with all the things that Jessica Drew has to balance, there is a constant sense of struggle, stress, and exhaustion, but also a deep sense of love, fulfillment, and joy. Over the years, we've realized how cool superheroes having kids can be. Superman and Batman have wonderful stories featuring their teenage kids, and that's great. But Jessica Drew's child being a newborn rather than a kid or a teenager adds an element to the superhero parenting story we rarely get to see at the forefront. The reviews and press surrounding the comic's initial cover show how the media can warp our perception of some pieces of art without us even being aware of it. If I didn't give this book a shot myself, I would have maintained my belief that this book was universally hated, when in fact most people who read it liked it. It's unfortunate when narratives about pieces of art end up turning people off who would have been open to checking it out in the first place. But I will admit that I enjoyed Spider-Woman partially because of my taste. My flawed, unique, and sometimes weird taste in art. The idea for this video first came up late last year when I finally found a solo Deadpool comic that I enjoyed. Over the years, I've tried reading a bunch of solo Deadpool comics, but none of them have truly hooked me. I checked out the first volumes of Gerry, Duggan, and Brian Posehn's Deadpool series and thought they were okay. Recently though, I read the first arc of Joe Kelly's Deadpool run, which is the character's first ever series. I thought the comic dragged on for way too long and had too many references I didn't get, but its characterization of Deadpool is one I and many appreciate. He's cynical and mean because of all the tragedy and sorrow he's gone through in his life, but underneath that harsh exterior is a good and kind-hearted person. Deadpool is best when he's depicted as this complex character who hides his tragedy and sadness behind his humor and wits, but at worst, he's a one-dimensional character that just jokes around. And yet, my favorite solo Deadpool series I've read is Daniel Way's take on the character, wherein Deadpool is a one-dimensional character that just jokes around. It's a simple, fast-paced comic full of silly shenanigans and over-the-top action sequences, with Deadpool's trolling being dialed up to 100. It's quite shallow, but I can't deny how much fun I had reading it last year. Maybe it's the secret second voice inside of his head, the addition of Hydra agent Bob who acts as Deadpool's punching bag, or the fact that Wade Wilson is an agent of pure impulse and chaos here, but this just worked for me, even though I understand why people have such a clear disdain for it. It's definitely not one of my favorite comics, but it was the first solo Deadpool run that I read more than 2 or 3 volumes of, which made it quite surprising when I found out how divisive this Deadpool series is. This is just one of my many hot takes though, or experiences I've had with art that just didn't align with the general consensus. Chynna Chugston Florres is a comic creator whose magnum opus is a slice-of-life comic about chaotic teenagers with a cartoony art style called Blue Monday, which on paper should be my thing. Brian Lee O'Malley even noted this to be an inspiration for Scott Pilgrim, which I love. But I found Blue Monday to be a slog to get through. Even though I adored the art and thought some moments were sweet, I found a lot of the characters to be unfunny, offensive jerks and didn't enjoy the way the story was paced. And yet, I really enjoyed Chynna Chugston Flores' miniseries Scooter Girl, even though the main character is even more of a horny jerk than any of the teenagers in Blue Monday. But because of a few differences Scooter Girl has, I somehow came to really enjoy it. It's a romantic comedy where Ashton, a guy who has everything but is an absolute jerk, falls in love with a girl who isn't into him for the first time in his lustful life. I enjoy it more because it's more streamlined, it has less filler, but I also really appreciate a story where the main protagonist has a character arc and grows as a person. And yet, Scooter Girl doesn't have the popularity that Blue Monday has. Another example of a comic I like that others don't is Dan Slott's Fantastic Four, which has a mediocre reputation among fans. Yes, it's consistently cheesy, overly heartfelt, it doesn't have much stakes, but that kind of makes it the perfect children's cartoon-like comic to me. You know what you're getting, and even though it isn't the most ambitious or revolutionary thing ever, it's more than enough to charm and entertain me each time I read an issue. Looking beyond the realm of comics, I really enjoyed Cartoon Saloon's My Father's Dragon released last year, and thought it was pure delight, despite most people finding it to be just above average. And when it comes to music, my favorite artist is Owl City, known for his infectious and sugary electronic melodies that either annoy or capture the listener. It's interesting how a specific element in a piece of art can be taken both negatively and positively. A 6-minute song can be dragging and dull to some, while others may be immersed by the track and charmed by its length in a world where pop songs try to be short for replayability and revenue. A comic with a very photorealistic style may be viewed by readers as impressive and grounded, but others may feel that the art style makes the action static and motionless. An animated film that focuses on the mundane aspects of life may be viewed as boring and a waste of the art form where anything is possible, but others may find the film's characters to resonate with them more because of the more abstract design of illustrated characters. Of course, there's universally recognized and beloved art that executes everything amazingly, even turning tropes we don't like and somehow twisting them to fit our tastes. But most art is slightly more divisive than that, with everyone having different takes and thoughts about why they like or dislike it. We all have our own preferences and hot takes when it comes to art, and I think most of us do acknowledge that. But I think what is lacking is our application of this truth in the way we look at reviews. So, how should we view and treat reviews? Well, they are an important guideline to see what most people thought was good or bad. And I owe a ton to reviews and ratings when it comes to finding a lot of the art that I love. But we should realize that they don't tell the full story. A numerical rating, heck, even a detailed written review can't ever fully encapsulate what a piece of art is and will mean to you. So you just gotta try it for yourself and see how much it impacts you. We should treat reviews and ratings as a guideline rather than doctrine, as recommendation rather than truth. Viewing reviews through the lens of subjectivity and personal preferences will not only make us view art in a more nuanced and complex way, but it would also make us less hostile toward those whose opinions differ from ours. It's scary how different everybody in the world is, and diversity of opinions, especially in regards to morality, ethics, and politics, creates a world that is polarizing, divisive, and confusing. But the diversity of opinions in the art world, when everyone respects each other, is one of the best things ever. It makes discussions about art interesting because we all lean toward different genres and tropes based on our taste. There's a sort of weight and responsibility when talking about topics that can have an impact on the world around us, and we should do our best to have a caring, nuanced, and logical perspective on real life. But what's so fun about art and entertainment is the more weightless nature of it. We can like what we like, dislike what we dislike, and have the most outlandish takes ever, and it doesn't really matter. So don't be afraid to indulge and engage in art that gives you joy, even if it isn't regarded by the world as a masterpiece. We're all biased towards different things in the art world, and I think it's time we remember to embrace each other's odd opinions and playful palettes. My name is Joshua C, and I will see you in the next comic book video.